Fire how in today's session of Visual JForex, we will be continuing to work with the indicator named Aroon Oscillator. This is the second part, and in today's session, we will try to complete the buy side logical requirement for the execution of the trades in this algorithm. So let us now head to the Visual JForex board where so far, the instrument subscription has been done. This time around, the GBP is the instrument of choice for designing and developing the algorithm using this indicator. The position amount has been defined at 0. I also got these Aroon oscillator blocks defined for the hourly time frame with the default period of 15, shift value of 1 and 2 respectively. To look at the price action, the historical candle blocks have been used. These are also of hourly time frame. And then to pinpoint the exact entry point, these 10-second candles will come handy. To set the condition, the calculation was done where we have calculated 7 pips, which is going to be the bare minimum condition between the difference between the opening and the closing value for last hourly candle, and we will need the difference between these two values to be more than 7 pips. So for that, this calculation was done. Now we have to proceed with other requirements. In today's session, we will be mostly focusing on the buy side requirements. So I will give you a refresher. We will look to execute the buy trade as and when the iron oscillator value goes on to touch 100. So for that, the iron oscillator block with the shift value of 1 will be used, and we will be looking whenever its value touches 100 from below 100. So we will be taking into consideration two blocks of Aroon oscillator with a shift value of 1 and 2, and this should be rising, and the latest value for last hour should be at 100. That will give us the indication that the momentum is on the buy side, and also it is fairly strong. So only when there is good enough momentum we want to get involved. And also, as I said, we also need to have the last candle closing value higher than the opening value, and the difference between these two values should be more than 7 pips. And also, at the same time, we will be bringing in one more condition. So sometimes it might happen that there is too much of an volatility, and the price suddenly jumps, and it rises too many pips. So to avoid that kind of possibility, we will be bringing in the cap of around 15 pips. So the difference should be less than that. And with this difference, the actual difference, you will be defining the stop loss and target price. So whatever is the actual difference, that will be also our stop loss. So this time around, we will keep a dynamic stop loss, and the order will be executed at the market price. So whatever is the prevalent price, the order will be executed then and there. So now we head back to the JForex board, and here I will have to do a couple of calculations to get the requirements in place. So I will take a couple of calculation expression here, and we want the difference to be less than 15 pips. So I will have to now define 15 pips. For that, we have to take a default instrument pip size and multiply it by 15. So new variable needs to be created. The upper limit, and it will be 15. So this will be A1 into A2, and this will be the maximum pip difference. We have already used this variable, so it will be limit. Okay. will be joined, and we have to see what is the actual difference. For that, we will be looking at the candlestick closing and the opening value. For the buy trade, the closing value should be higher, so we will be deducting the opening price from the closing price, and the difference should be more than this output value MPR. So we take this and deduct opening price A1 minus A2. This will be actual pip difference, and this will also be used as a stop loss. So we will have to multiply this by pip conversion factor, and since GBP USD has 4 decimal points before the pip, 1 pip is after 4 decimal points, we will have to multiply it by 10 raised to the power 4 to make it in integer. So we have to create a new variable with conversion factor, and it will be 10k. Okay, A1 into A2, and this will be buy side stop loss. And I forgot here, we have to change its data type from double to integer, then only it will work. Let me see if it has been changed. Save. It's not really changing. So what we will do, we will leave it as it is for the time being, and then we will create the new variable whenever we bring in the opener market block, and then take that variable and put it here. So whatever is the result of the calculation, that will be reflected for that variable. So we leave it as it is for the time being, and start adding the conditions for the execution of the buy trade. So I will now bring in the multiple block of multiple action. For the time being, I am joining this, but we will disconnect it later on, as we will add additional blocks while defining the sell side. Okay, we want the Aroon oscillator values to be on the rise, and the last one needs to be equal to 100. So now that comparison needs to be done. This first input equals to second input, and this value needs to be lower than 100. Over here, first input less than second input. And then we also have to take into consideration the price action. So we want the last candle's closing value to be higher than its opening value by more than 7 pips. So we will take a look on the actual pip difference, and this should be higher than minimum pips requirement, and also it should be lower than the limit of 15 pips. So we have to take both these conditions into consideration. First input greater than second input. And again this should be less than the upper limit of 15 pips. So this will be if first input less than second input, and the penultimate candle should have closed lower. So for that, candle 18's closing and opening value needs to be compared, and its closing value needs to be less than the opening value. First input less than second input. So all these five conditions have now been defined, and now all we need is to define the actual price for the execution of the trade, and that is going to be whenever the price starts to rise above the last hourly closing value. So we will have to compare the candle 17's closing value with candle 19 and candle 20's closing value. And here we take these 10-second candle values, candle 19 and candle 20. Candle 20 should have closed lower and candle 19 higher. So this time first input greater than, and then here first input less than, and now we bring in that market block, trading block. This will be a buy trade. Here first input less than second input, and we have to define these input parameters. Default instrument will remain GBP/USD. Trade amount, this you should define as per the equity of your account. Slippage, I think 2 pips should be good enough. Stop loss. For stop loss, we have carried out the calculation. That will be our stop loss. So for that, a new variable will need to be created. Before that, I will arrange these blocks and then we will create a new variable for stop loss. Okay. This will be the proper order. And now we create a new variable for stop loss. Stop loss is going to be dynamic. We will name it VSL P and its value will be the result of this calculation, actual price difference multiplied by pip conversion factor. And then we also need to define the take profit, but for that we will not do the calculation now, and it's simply going to be twice of this stop loss, and with that we will have the risk reward ratio of 2. So I would suggest that even you can try it out on your own, and if you can't get how it can be done, I will be back tomorrow and I will of course explain to you. So for that we will have to wait till tomorrow, till next session. Thank you all for joining in. That's it for the day. See you next time. Till then, goodbye.